Hello, and welcome back to Proverbs, a letter to my son. Today we're going to look at Lesson 17, the last one in the series, and this is just an added bonus. For years I tried to figure out the logic in chapters 10 through 29 of Proverbs. It appeared to me that as though Solomon took all those verses and stuck them in a bucket and shook them up and threw them against the wall. That's about all the logic I saw. And I thought there had to be some kind of logic. Well, after many attempts, I finally came up with a way to see it. I built an Excel spreadsheet with the chapters along the top and the verses down the side. And each verse in those chapters from 10 to 29 had its own block. And I decided to color that block for the particular verse with a particular color for the type of parallel that it presented. And I'm going to show that to you today. So today we're going to look at Lesson 17. We're going to use the New American Standard as the base translation. And we're going to see how the logic of these verses was arranged. So these are the major divisions that I found in those verses. Chapters 10 through 15 are one type of parallel. Chapters 16 through Proverbs 22-21 show another general type of parallel. And then 22-22 to chapter 25, verse 10. So another one, chapter 25 through the end of chapter 27. And then chapters 28 and 29. So we're going to look at each group. This is just a for your information lesson, and I wanted to show you this logic. It's beautiful. In studying Proverbs, I wrote a commentary, and I sent that commentary to a Bible school up north somewhere, and the fellow that received it looked at it and said, I like the commentary, but what are you going to do with chapters 10 through 29? Because all I did is dealt with chapters 1 through 9 and chapter 30 and 31. Well, early in the study, I decided that good men have done numbers of good topical study on those verses. And why should I repeat their good work? I just didn't want to waste my time or anybody else's. But this logic now, I've never seen it before. I think you'll like what you see. So let's go to the first section now, chapters 10 through 15. I have here a look at the verse and the color code that I gave for that type of parallel. Let's read it. Chapter 10, verse 1, the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish son is grief to his mother. So I've colored the type of parallel. This is good, but that's bad. I've colored it in red. The next verse, ill-gotten gains do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. So you see how we're doing this now. Verse 3, the Lord will not allow the righteous to hunger, but he will reject the craving of the wicked. Verse 4, poor is he who works with a negligent hand, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. You see the parallel type. Verse 5, he who gathers in summer is a son who acts wisely, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who acts shamefully. Verse 6, blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. You see where we're going. Verse 7, the memory of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wicked will rot. So these verses now show a comparison style that is, this is good, but that's bad, or that's bad, but this is good. That's the general arrangement. Now let's look at chapters 10 through 15, and you see that most, but not all of these verses are the contrasting type of verse. Now understand, I'm not being real picky as to the precise style of parallelism. I'm taking a general look just to give us a picture. But you can see in the picture there on the screen that the majority of them are contrasting verses. Now we look at the next section, chapter 16 through chapter 22, verse 21. Now let's take a look. Ooh, notice contrasting again. It must be the same. No, it's not. Chapter 16, verse 1 says, the plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So obviously we've got the contrasting parallel there. Here's another one. All the ways of man are clean in his own sight, but the Lord weighs the motives. Now we're getting something different now. Verse 3, commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Notice and. So we've colored the parallel type and. This is good and that's good in the green. So now, we got another color. Chapter 16, verse 4, the Lord has made everything for its own purpose, even the wicked for the day of evil. So I've chosen purple as a verse that's a continual thought. It's not really a parallel, it's a continual thought. And here's another continual thought. Verse 5, everyone who is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Assuredly, he will not be unpunished. Verse 6, by loving kindness and truth, iniquity is atoned for, and by the fear of the Lord one keeps away from evil. And then verse 7, another continuing thought, when a man's ways are pleasing to the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. So you can see here there's a varied type of parallelism here. And let's put that on a chart here. Notice how it's mostly green and purple. There's some red scattered in there. But as you'll see later on, we get some of the same type of teaching, just presented in a little different parallel type. So you see the chart on the right. The red says but is the red, and is the green. You see the light blue is this is better than that. And the orange is as this, so is that. Or like this, so is that. And you can go down the chart. So let's put the two sections together here. And this is how the first 22 chapters of Proverbs compare for parallelism types. I think it's pretty. I didn't see it until we did the color thing. So let's look at chapter 22, verse 22 and on, through chapter 25, verse 10. Notice on the left column there, you've got a dark line for every two verses. Two verses go together. But in this section, it's don't do this, don't do that, don't do something else. Chapter 22, verse 22. Do not rob the poor because he is poor, or crush the afflicted in the gate. Notice the semicolon now. And we continue on. For the Lord will plead their case and take the life of those who rob them. So it says, don't do this. And that's what the yellow is talking about. And then in verses 24 and 25, again, two verses, do not associate with a man given to anger, or go with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and find a snare for yourself. In other words, don't do this. We continue on with the yellow now. And two more verses. Verse 26 and 27. Do not be among those who give pledges, among those who become guarantors for debts. If you have nothing with which to pay, why should he take your bed from under you? Don't do this. And then one more verse, verse 28, the end of the chapter. Do not move the ancient boundary which your fathers have set. So he's saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do something else. So if we look at this section of the text in chapters 10 through 29, you can see the majority of them are don't do this. Of course, you have some that are continual thoughts. And then that block on the lower right of chapter 24 is the section about the lazy man. So this is that section of verses. You can see how the majority of them are don't do this. So let's add it to our picture of the whole thing now. You can see the difference in these sections. And now we'll look at chapter 25, verse 11, on through the end of chapter 27. Chapter 25, verse 11, it says, like apples of gold in settings of silver is a word spoken in right circumstances. And that orange is like this, so is that, or as this, so is that. You'll see. Verse 12, like an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold is a wise reprover to a listening ear. Like this, so is that. But verse 13, like the cold of snow in the time of harvest is a faithful messenger to those who send him, for he refreshes the soul of his masters. So like this, so is that. Here another one. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts of his gifts falsely. Verse 15, we got a little different type here. By forbearance a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue breaks the bone. This is true, and that's true. Now we got a continuous one. Have you found honey? Eat only what is needed, that you not have it in excess, and vomit it. So there's the continual thought in the purple. And then another continual thought. Let your foot rarely be in your neighbor's house, or he'll become weary of you and hate you. So now let's look at this section in its entirety. And there it is. Mostly, as this, so is this, or like this, so is this, with some continual thoughts. But down at the bottom of 27 is that section on finances. It's a paragraph that goes together. So let's put this in the chart with the rest of them we've seen so far. And this is another parallel type in the verses. Now let's look at the last section, chapters 28 and 29. I believe these were probably added after Solomon wrote the book. Chapter 28, verse 1, the wicked flee when no one is pursuing, but the righteous are bold as a lion. So there's our contrasting. Verse 2, by the transgression of a land many are its princes, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, so it endures. So there's this but. We got a different one here. A poor man who oppresses the lowly is like a driving rain which leaves no rain. As this, so is that. Now we got another but. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive with them. Another one. Verse 5, evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand all things. Different type now. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than he who is crooked, though he be rich. So better than comparison in the blue. And then he who keeps the law is a discerning son, but he who is a companion of gluttons humiliates his father. So you see this type of comparison for these few verses. Let's look at the whole 2 chapters. But you see they're mostly contrasting and continuous verses. So this is the type of parallelism where the truth is being conveyed. So let's look at the whole section now. This is chapter 10 through 29, and these are the types of parallels that are there. Now, I want to give you a teaser in a sense. I want to show you something. In chapter 22, verse 13, the sluggard says, there's a lion outside. I'll be killed in the streets. In other words, this lazy man is saying, I don't want to get out of bed. I might get hurt. So he has an excuse. It's not a good one, but it's an excuse. And then in chapter 26, verse 13, it says, the sluggard says, there's a lion on the road. A lion is in the open square. Notice, the verses say basically the same thing. But notice, they're in 2 different sections of chapters 10 through 29, different parallel types, teaching the same truth. I would encourage you, and this kind of a teaser in a sense, I encourage you to go through those chapters and find out where in these different sections the same thing is being taught as in another section, and just taught from a different perspective. It's fascinating, isn't it? We've gone all the way through chapters 1 through 9 in sequence, chapters 30 and 31 in sequence, and then we just took a look at the parallel types in Proverbs chapter 10 through 29. This is the book of Proverbs. I hope it's been help to you. I have thoroughly enjoyed this study, and I hope you'll go back and look at these lessons again and try to get a firm grasp on what it's teaching. It's beautiful. Thank you, and appreciate your watching.